What's up? It's Jackal, and I'm here today. We're going to talk about Bad Bunny. So let's get up on that Eli frequency and have a conversation. So I've been watching multiple hosts and commentators talk about Bad Bunny and what's going on with regard to him performing at the Super Bowl halftime show, and how they looked at the alternative, which is the show with Kid Rock. Now, I just want to give you my opinion on it, and it's not biased, and it's my perspective. I'm not a Trump follower. I'm not a right-wing follower. I'm not a left-wing follower. I'm a regular U.S. citizen. And after hearing all this spin, it just makes me sick how people, they can't be giving their honest opinion about what's going on. It has to be them coming from the weirdest perspective that they can possibly come from. How can I get the most viewers? How can I get the most heads? I have to say something totally outrageous in order to get people to listen to me. And that's exactly what I'm not going to do. So you hear people, I've heard people, Megyn Kelly for one, Loomer, what's her name? Let me see if I can look it up right quick. Laura Loomer. So she commentated about, she said she didn't like it and she couldn't watch it anymore because there was no whiteness, or she didn't feel the lack of whiteness. And for a minute, I had to realize what she was saying, because it just doesn't make sense to me, right? So I had to look further into it. So I'd done some research, done some looking up things, and I had to make some kind of sense out of it. So, and her and Megyn Kelly were saying that he performed in Spanish, so they couldn't understand it, and that a huge percentage of the population speaks English, so he should have sung it in English, or there should have been subtitles so that people can understand. And right. So let me understand something. Him as an artist, like me when I did music, right? As an artist, is the expectation from these people who say this outlandish, outrageous, ridiculous stuff, is the expectation that every country that these artists perform in, the expectation is for the artist to sing or perform or rap in whatever language that the majority of that country speaks. So if they go to China, are artists expected to perform in Chinese? If they go to Italy, are they expected to perform in Italian? Is this the expectation? If they're performing in France, they are expected to perform in French. So him being the highest looked up or listened to artist means that they enjoy the songs as they are. Whether they understand them fully or not, they enjoy the songs as they are. So if that's the case, why is your expectation for him to change to suit you specifically? Because people just like you are downloading his content at a high percent, much higher than your viewership. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. So I had to think about this whiteness. And I don't understand how white people became so arrogant as a whole. So I just had to look into it a little more, right? And so what I found is that collectively, I could not look at what they are considering white, right? Because white, as you've probably heard people say, is a construct, which means they pretty much made it up, calling people white, black. It was made up. So I say, okay, what's a real word that we can use? And I said ethnicity. And it said that the census they only recognize one ethnicity, right? Hispanic. And I said, that's interesting. So I looked up ethnicity, and Then I went back into the searches and said, okay, is Italian in ethnicity, or French, people from France, or Irish? Are those ethnicities? And then the response was that they could be considered ethnicities or ancestry. And I said, okay, which brought me back to Laura Loomer, right? And so I said, okay, she's calling herself white, which isn't a real thing, because white was only used to collectively bring all these people of other ancestry and ethnicities together so they can call themselves the majority of the people, so they can make laws for them and people who they consider look like them. I looked up the biggest ethnicity in the United States, and it said that it was English, or England, at 46 million. And I said, that's interesting, because I think African is the biggest ethnicity. And when I looked that up, it tried to tell me that those of African heritage were considered to be 51 million. And I said, if that's the case, then why aren't they considered the biggest ethnic group? As I pushed and pushed and pushed, my search confirmed, after 5 times pushing and asking it in different ways, it finally conceded that the biggest ethnic group is Black/African. The second, at 51, almost 52 million. The second biggest ethnic group, it said, would be England, the English. People speak English. People from England, sorry. And that was at 46 million. And so I said, so why didn't you name Black or African as the biggest ethnic group? And I don't know, it was interesting for me that I had to push so hard and search so deep in order to get the response that's the real and the right response. So white is consistent of people from Germans, Italians, the French, Irish. So all of these are different ethnic groups, and they've all assimilated together and consider themselves to be white, although they all have different languages, different phenotypes, they're just totally different from one another. And some of them don't have fair skin like the other ones. For instance, the Italians were not considered white. But after they figured that they needed those numbers because they were losing the majority with the numbers that they had, they included them. And now they're considered white. So race is fake, it's false, it's made up. And now that the white race, even by collecting all these ethnic groups and combining them together, they were considered the majority in the United States. Now it's coming to the point where they are losing even that majority. And it only makes sense because, considering the whole world globally, people of color are globally, and if you want to go even deeper, Asians and Africans, or Asians and Blacks, I'll say, which includes Africans, African Americans. So Asians and Africans/Black make up 80% of the globe. And so when you're called a minority, it's very interesting because that word is used to oppress people and to make people feel less than, while other people are calling themselves the majority, when in reality, that's not true. So That's going way further into it. But so I started thinking when she said the absence of whiteness, I'm thinking since are you saying the absence of Italians, people from France, people from Ireland? Are you saying that? Or are you saying as a I don't know how to pronounce the Esca Jewish, the ones I'm talking about, right? So are you saying so you are considering your background and ancestry to be Eskenazi Jew, which means the Middle East or Israeli? So are you saying that that's what you miss in the Super Bowl halftime show? I'm just trying to get what you're getting at when you're saying what you're missing, because who's the largest star from your ancestry or from your ethnicity? Because all people you're considering white don't speak English. Italians speak Italian. People from Italy speak Italian. People from France speak French. People from Ireland, Irish. So what is it that you're saying that you want to see? Because saying white doesn't say anything really. You're saying a bunch of things when you say it's not white. So that was very interesting to me that people start to say stuff like that. It really doesn't make sense. They think they're making sense. They think they're being part of a collective, but your collective is fake. It's false. So next time you want to talk about what you rather see and what's lacking, be specific. I mean, even if you want to say that there was a lack of an American feel, that wouldn't make sense either because Bad Bunny is an American. You see what I'm saying? So if you have to talk, or if you hear people having to talk about or include race, don't let it stop there. Push further than that. Say, okay, you said race. That's a facade. Go further than that. Race could be anything. Ethnically, what are you talking about? Nationally, what are you talking about? And they say people should be proud to represent the United States when they are in playing for the USA. They can't have anything negative to say about things that are happening in the United States. Isn't that what makes the United States the United States? The best should be representing, and they're the best. If they're the best, how they feel isn't relevant to their talents. They are allowed to feel certain ways on certain issues. Why is it that people who call themselves journalists, why do they think they're the only ones that should be able to speak on anything political? What makes them as a so-called journalist, because most of them do not do any journalism, but what makes them the only ones special enough to speak on politics? I mean, if that's the case, only journalists should be able to vote. Since apparently you're the only ones that know politics and that can speak on it, because someone happens to sing or because someone happens to rap really well, all of a sudden they can't speak on things that affect them and their community and the communities that they've come from. They can't speak on that because they became talented and wealthy as in their whatever field that they're most talented in. That leaves them naive in everything else. I mean, you're a journalist. Why are you speaking on basketball? You're a journalist. Why are you speaking on politics? You can't speak on anything else. No, they have the right to talk about whatever they want to because obviously they're talking about it because they're affected by it. If someone did something horrible to your child, would you want them to report on that? Would you want them to talk about how horrible that was and how horrible the person who inflicted that pain was or inflicted that harm? Would you want people to talk about that? Or would you be standing up saying, no one should talk about how horrible that person is, or the horrible thing they done unless they're a journalist. No entertainer should come on and say, that's wrong what that person did to that child. That's what you're saying. You're saying they can't have an opinion on anything except music or whatever it is that their talent is. See how idiotic that sounds? It sounds very stupid. When most of you out there, and I'm speaking to the so-called journalists, you don't have a moral compass. All you're doing is regurgitating what the rest of your constituents are saying. You're trying to act as if it's okay for these people who participated in pedophilia to be in silence, for their names not to be mentioned to the public. Like, how is that keeping America safe? How can a person listen to another person, another human, saying, this is a witch hunt, stop looking for this? How can you, as a person of any kind of value, morally, attach yourself to that? I'm not talking about parties. I'm not talking about what side of the line. I'm not talking about that stupid. I'm talking about how can you align yourself with the person that doesn't think men involved in dealing with little children physically. How can you align yourself with that? This is not a game. You're morally corrupt, bankrupt. And most of them are just willing to do it because it gets them more people coming to their website. More morally bankrupt people coming to their space. And more eyes gets them more money. And more money gets them, what does more money get them? A bigger house, okay? Do you need a bigger house? Because most of them are of an age when they're not having more children. Like, that's a wrap. More cars to do what with? More money to put in their kids' savings account and stuff like that. Generational wealth. Okay. But one day they'll be able to look up, or their kids will be able to look up your videos and see how morally bankrupt you were. Oh, okay, did this to get money, okay? So you shouldn't be against drug dealers. They sell drugs just to get money. All they want is money so they can, why are you against that? Because morally, selling drugs is not right, huh? Yet, I can be morally bankrupt and have no value because I'm following behind like a parrot and parroting these other people who have no value. And I know I'm doing it. I'm just trying to get money. See how that don't match? So I don't know. Basically today I was thinking about that as I was working earlier, and I just started thinking about like this race. It's just it's made up. It was a way for people as a collective to be above other people and make laws that help them. That's why it was constructed. Because white people, like I said, you got all these classes of people, and collectively they say, okay, we all white. Then they said, the black people born in America, they're black. The ones that come from Africa, though, and weren't involved in slavery, they're Africans. So we have to distinguish them. They're black and they're Africans. Okay. So that's divide and conquer, right? So then they even say, okay, they're black, but we have this other group that have darker skin too. They're brown. No, they're Hispanic. So we're not going to lump the black or the Africans with the Hispanic. Those are Hispanics. That's a whole nother class. And see, in division, they're small, we're small. And the group of whites are all collectively larger than those individual parts. And so then they even included some Hispanics as white. So it's just, I don't know, man, it's amazing. And so I don't know, I'm gonna stop kind of using the word white. And somebody talks about that, I think I'm gonna push further and say, okay, you're not really white. What are you, Polish? Are you Irish? What are you? What ethnic group are you related to or originating from? You can't hide behind that collective grouping anymore because that doesn't even mean anything anymore. Calling yourself white. So, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm taking the racism out of it because a lot of people, that's what they're doing. They're hiding behind the racism, or you can take the ism off of it. They're hiding behind the race. Now, when I looked up my ethnic group that I would be associated with, it said, well, first it tried to say the census doesn't me with the ethnic group, but then pushed a little further. It said, okay, African, but then it didn't say just African. It said Black/African. So I thought that was interesting. But these are just my thoughts today. I just want to take one topic at a time because if not, I'd be all over the place. So this one was referencing basically the Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime show and how I view how others viewed it, who are using race to say why they couldn't enjoy the performance, and how they try to say that the alternative show, there were millions. It started out with 4, then it went to 6, then it went to 25. From there, talking points. No one showed this in numbers. They just kept saying it. And if you look at the comments and thumbs ups and likes and all that, doesn't add up. Now, then they try to contrast that against the Super Bowl and say, and some people tuned out of the Super Bowl at halftime and tuned over there because they got 6 million views. People don't check facts. This was the biggest, most watched Super Bowl halftime show ever. So you implying that people tuned out to watch that alternative show is a blatant lie. It's the biggest watched, the most watched Super Bowl show ever. So that's proof that that didn't happen. And it's also proof that no one was expecting him, no one with any common sense was expecting him to all of a sudden change from being a Hispanic rapper/singer to being one who sings in English. And just to show that I'm fair, and I'm not saying that I don't want to make you think I'm just saying that other alternative show. I don't know who was on it other than Kid Rock. I know Ludacris and Nelly were going to perform. And I don't know the others simply because that's not the music I'm into. But I'm into like Nelly and Ludacris. And I know Kid Rock because he started as a rapper. I don't like his music. Like, he has a couple of songs, like old song. Well, that's all he has is old songs. But he has a couple of songs that I liked. You know what I'm saying? Like 2, maybe. I like the one with him and I think him and Ludacris did a song. But I liked a couple of his songs back then though. But um Ludacris and Nelly, they said at least Ludacris said he wasn't going to do the show. So I'm just not into that music. If they had a rapper over there that I wanted to listen to, I would have listened to it. Because it doesn't matter to me. If I like the music, I'm going to listen to the music. I never heard Bad Bunny music, but I heard of him, of course. And so when I listened to it, That was the first time I ever heard his music, and I really enjoyed it. For the first minute, I was saying, man, I don't know. I wish I understood it. I wish I understood it. But after that minute, I just enjoyed the music and enjoyed the visuals, And then I didn't think of it not being in English after that first minute. It was a really good performance. As Pierce Morgan said, Pierce Morgan, I'll talk about that. That's another subject. But 40% of the things, 30% of the things he be 30% of the things he says, I'm in agreement with. 70%, either I disagree or I don't like how he does what he does. He gives certain people more time to talk than other people. Then he comes to the defense of certain people, and I don't like that. And it's another reason I decided to get my own thing so I can say what I need to say and say what I want to say. Mark Lamont Hill, I always liked Mark Lamont Hill. I liked him better back probably 5 years ago because he was on top of it. He could swing with the best of them. And I seen him. He was really good. He was quick. He was witty. He could say what he needed to say in a short amount of time because, they try to give you short spurts of time when you can talk. And I can't remember the guy's name who was on Fox News, who they kicked off. Pierce Morgan has him on there sometimes, but the old white dude, he's a historian. But I used to watch him just to learn what they had to say and understand. And Mark Lamont was on there, and he was really good, really good. And I don't know, last few years since he's gotten on Joe Budden podcast, I like him on Joe Budden podcast, but he's slowed down a little bit. Could be age, I don't know, but he slowed down a little bit. But I still respect his point of view. I don't agree with his point of view in its totality, but I can appreciate why he's coming from that perspective. And even though things I don't agree with, I know why he feels that way. So, yeah. So, I don't know. I just wanted to get on here and talk about that. It's my first podcast, and it's going to be some things in this podcast, like my phone dinging and stuff like that I'm going to learn as I go on. I know I said some things in this one that, I could edit better, and hopefully I'll learn that as I go on. And the pauses while I'm trying to think of a word or think of what I'm trying to say. Hopefully I'll be able to cut those shorter. It's my first official pod. And so this is episode 1. The other one was an introduction. So I'm not going to edit this. Well, I'm going to edit it very little. I'm just going to let AI edit it and see how that works out for me. So please forgive me if, there are little nuances that I can work on. I'll get better as time goes. And I just wanted to get this out before I forgot what I wanted to talk about. And it's going to be another thing I'm going to get better with, listing things I need to talk about and stuff like that. And there'll be an episode that I do giving a little bit of my background and where I've come from and how I got here. Love always above everything. All right. Jackal. You looking good, Ma. How you doing?
I'm fine.
That's good. My name's CDN. What's your name?
My name's Hadilla.
That's a beautiful name, but I just call you Hot.
I guess you can.
So what would it take for a man like me to get with a woman as fine as you?
You really want to know what it takes to get with a girl like me?
For sure. Your gravity, bringing them strings. Yeah, let's add some emotion to this scene. Yeah.